guys know me, I'm more of an animal guy, but when you start talking about the salt marsh, you gotta start with a plant. And if you look behind me, all you see is green, and that's one plant species. That's Spartina grass, and is the only plant that can live in full strength ocean water here in South Carolina. And if you look in here, look how tall this Spartina is. So we're late in the season. In fact, this is blooming. One of my good friends always says, when the Spartina blooms, the shrimp are ready, which is always something that I've kind of gone by. But so what can Spartina do that other plants can't? Well, it can desalinate the water. So in other words, it can pull the water out of the salt water, get rid of the salt crystals, and survive in an environment like this. In fact, a lot of times, yeah, it tastes salty. So what they're doing is getting rid of the salt crystals and extruding them through the leaves, through pores in the leaves. The other thing is this is a really harsh environment. Remember, it's completely inundated with water part of the time, and it's completely dry part of the time. So this plant can handle that, no problem. Now, one of the most important things about the salt marsh and Spartina grass is it is really good protection for lots of animals. So things like shrimp and crabs and little tarpon and little grouper, all kinds of sport fish that we see offshore, they grow up in the salt marsh. And so when this is flooded, those animals come out, exploit some of the resources in the marsh here, and then when the tide goes back out, they kind of follow it back out into the creeks. Eventually, those animals get big enough where they can go offshore and live in the open ocean. So remember, Spartina turns green every year. It produces a wonderful crop like this, but then in the fall, it starts to turn kind of golden color. Eventually it turns brown and it breaks off, during storms and tides and things like that. And that broken off Spartina, called rack, just kind of floats in and out with the tide. It's broken down by plants and animals, and eventually it turns into the energy that powers this Atlantic food chain. Now it's pretty mucky here, the pluff mud's pretty mucky here, but I want to go a little bit further in and see if we can get some deeper mud and some taller Spartina. Man, it's getting really sticky in here. And this is low tide, so this would be completely, I'd be up to my chest in water normally. But at low tide, of course, most of the tide is out. So this is getting to be kind of difficult. I'm gonna stop here because I'm slowly sinking. And one of the things I've learned about pluff mud, the longer you stand in one place, the more you sink slowly, but you're still sinking. So, and what I found is once you get up to about knee level, you're not getting out easily. And all vanity aside, you kind of just have to lie down in the pluff mud and roll out. Before it gets really deep, I'm gonna head back the other way. So pluff mud is full of decomposing matter. I'm trying to not step in my footsteps so I don't go any further, but it is really, really very much like what I would think quicksand would be, but mostly it's decaying organic material. Old Spartina plants, dead animals, things like that.